for this title. And he's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
Yes, everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of the Warm Down today. Delighted to be joined by Manchester correspondent for The Guardian, which is United and City, unfortunately. Jamie Jackson. Jamie, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you very much. Very well, how are you?
Fucking mint, mate, after the weekend, obviously. Right, so let's get into it. What's going on at United?
Well, it's kind of Groundhog Day. Yeah, again, it's a Groundhog season of Groundhog Days, basically. It's sort of one step. I described in the piece I did for today's paper as a one step forward, one step back team. So you can win at Juventus, yeah? Great win.
Oh, mate, the mood was mint.
I know, I was lucky enough to...
Hello, Milton.
I was lucky enough to be there, and it was a great atmosphere. It's a really nice stadium, that, and it's the first time they lost to an English side in that stadium. United are the only English side to beat them this century there. They beat them in 2003, obviously, but, you know...
First time they've lost in the Champions League since 2009.
All that palaver. So that's the one step forward, and quite a big one, but then you go to City...
Equally big one.
Yeah, but exactly, in a nutshell. So you're kind of treading water. And whatever the rights and wrongs of it, it's kind of what Mourinho said in pre-season. He did say it would be a difficult season. Now, you could say, is it a difficult season because of his management and for him sort of setting the tone with those sort of comments, you know, as you started off, but it is kind of panning out that way. It might be mad to say, but even when you were finishing second last season with 81 points, which is great, don't get me wrong, it was still the same. You didn't know what United was going to turn up, even though you were obviously getting results more often than not.
I think we had a bit more, I don't know how, but I think we had a bit more consistency last year. I think we also started off like a rocket, and I think that helped.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was the derby, put a dampener on things again. First one.
Yeah.
Second one, lifted it again.
Yeah.
A bit of an unexpected turn.
Yeah.
But 81 points is a respectable amount of points to return, regardless of anything else. If you just look at 81 points, you go, that it was the highest total since Fergie. Someone had to get it, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was the highest total since Fergie. It wasn't a title challenge, because we was in a record-breaking season with City, and maybe that was why we managed to pick up more points, because the pressure maybe wasn't on, and we were able to pick up a few points on the back of that.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it feels like not only are we far away from that we can't even replicate what we did there. We can't replicate, because it looks to me like City might have taken what they did last year to another level.
Yeah.
Liverpool, in January, they fixed a lot of their problems in terms of defence with Van Dijk, which was a great signing. Chelsea have brought in a new manager, and I've got to say I'm quite shocked at how quick he's turned that in.
Yeah.
And that doesn't bode well, I don't think, Mourinho. And obviously Emery doing pretty well with Arsenal.
Yeah, it's an interesting one about those two managers, Sarri and Emery, because you look at that and think, well, wait a minute, Mourinho. So some of what Mourinho says is it's a rebuilding job, and you know he's 2.5 well, not quite 2.5, but you know he's in his third season, and Emery and Sarri. All right, you could argue Chelsea.
Sarri didn't even start pre-season then.
I know.
Conte started it.
Yeah. You could argue he's got Eden Hazard, which he obviously has, and that's a massive difference. But Emery at Arsenal is doing a good job. Well, what are the positives? Lukaku hasn't got going, goal scoring wise. You know, he's a bit of a drought.
Positives.
No, but I'm just thinking, how are you going to get up that league from your point of view?
Well,
I mean, you're 7 points behind Spurs. I'd say that's a bit of a, you know, who are fourth. That's the statistic I'd be a little bit concerned about.
The thing is, right now it looks pretty bleak, and rightfully so. Because the run of games we've just had to endure, going off the shaky start, the Brighton game, the Spurs drubbing that we got at home, which wasn't quite reflective in the performance.
Yeah.
What we look at now, this next sequence of games, that's actually a bit different. We should, in theory, and that theory is a wonderful thing, but in theory we should now pick up, and Jose said a couple of weeks ago, I expect us to be a lot closer by Christmas. I think he's probably going to be right. It just don't feel like it's getting anywhere at the moment.
No, I mean, all I'd say is, and you just mentioned it then, is what does a win do for morale? So you beat Juventus, and Thursday you're happy, and everyone's bounced and said, okay, we can see what he's trying to do, and okay, it wasn't an amazing performance, but it was a pretty, you know, decent performance away from home against a proper side. So all I'm trying to say is maybe you should, the City result, it's City, it's your massive rivals, or I know Liverpool have more of your rivals, but you know what I mean, it's your derby rivals, so it's going to gut you, but I wouldn't be too down because of that, because I think they are better than they were at the start of the season. The Chelsea, you know, you should have beat Chelsea. I mean, could have, should have.
10 seconds, wasn't it?
Yeah,
10 seconds. That's football. You got
so you know, you could be beating Palace and winning the next game, and suddenly it feels a lot rosier. But of course, it's not going to feel like that when you've been to City and kind of been outclassed by a couple of classes, I'm afraid to say. And what you're saying there is, I think they do look better because I think the defence is better. City's. I know you don't want to hear this, but you know, so
I'm
you know,
I don't deny the truth that City people go, Jose's wasted millions and Jose's bought defenders and he doesn't play them. Valid, but Pep was able to buy players and replace the players he bought, and I think that's the difference. And it's not a financial thing from United holding us back.
Yeah,
shouldn't be.
Well, I mean, this fullbacks thing. You know, look at Clichy and Zabaleta, whoever were first choice, Sanya, that season. They kind of bombed City. This year, you've got middling at best. Dalot looks a good player, but he's not going to be another Phil Jones, is he? He never seems to be fit. Bless him. He played really well in the away game. Was it Young Boys? His debut. You know, I mean, listen, it's a one-off, but you can't really do more than play how he did, it was a couple of mistakes, but where we were sitting there, that stadium, you could really see on that side, on his right-hand side, how well he was playing.
Wasn't so hot against Derby, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think I did that game as well. But what I'm trying to say is the fullbacks, you know, in his plan are pretty important. Mourinho's plan, and it was the position, or it is the position. Now, to get into this new contracts that, you know, discussions they're having with Young and Valencia, I can only think this is an insurance thing because they can't not have backups.
It's also a club policy that no one walks out the door for free, I think.
Yeah. So, you know,
that's also why we've accumulated so much deadwood.
Yeah, as I understand it, they've not actually been made any offers, so maybe there's a haggling thing going on about well, obviously it's about money, but you know, those two could sign on, and could have, should have, I know, but in January or next summer you could buy two, and I think this is what he wants, two proper, you know, full-backs, and they would be reserved. So I wouldn't get too upset about that, but at the moment, because of where it's at, you know, you look at that thinking, crumbs, is that what the business we're doing?
My audience knows my thoughts on Ashley Young, and I'm not going to repeat them again and again and again and again, but I think it's a massive symptom of where United are, that Ashley Young's wearing a captain's armband and starting week in, week out, and I don't think that's acceptable. I
prefer him to Valencia, I have to say, as a captain, but I hear what you say. I think it should be Pogba or someone like that. Just, you know, the future of the team should be the captain, a player who you think is, all right, I know he's had his problems, and, you know, we can get into all that, but about signals, you're right. I don't think it gives the greatest message if it's Ashley Young. You know, maybe give it to De Gea, for example. You know,
why not? I mean, people talk about the Glazers being great businessmen and all that lot, but there is a potential £100+ million about to walk out of the club if they don't tie that guy down.
Yeah, they've got an extension on his contract, so they will have to trigger that. But even if they have to trigger that,
18 months.
Yeah, and it's a bad signal, isn't it? That if you're having to, you know, do that because you know, in August, they were confident, the club, that he was going to sign on again, so it obviously must be a money thing. I think they will get him to sign a new contract just because it's protecting the asset, as you just said. If not, it's 18 months and he does walk out. And
it's 100 million off the top of the balance sheet, at least. Because not only have you just lost it in terms of, like, in terms of that you didn't get a transfer fee and he left, you've now still got to go and spend that sort of region to bring the guy in.
Probably
so
double,
in theory,
you could probably double what you're saying.
It's an unbelievable amount of wastage for a business. I don't think there's many businesses could swallow that. And I'm not going to get into FFP with you.
No, let's not do that. let's not do that. Only because it's a pretty boring subject, I think.
And it's probably very libelous with any sort of opinion on it, so let's just leave it.
Yeah, but I think he will sign on again, De Gea. But I don't know. For me, I did a piece today, as I mentioned. You need a new defence, maybe about Luke Shaw and a couple of his. You need a proper artistic midfielder, maybe just a compliment Pogba sort of dynamic player, however you want to describe it. And you need someone who could score goals apart from Lukaku. You know, like, I mean, a proper weight. Double figures, 15, 18, 20 in the Premier League.
Marshall's going to do that for you. I think. The thing is, I think it's more fundamental. It's more of you've got to just go back to what is our system. Is it counter-attacking, or is there a system in place? And let's work to that, because we didn't counter-attack City. We had a forward three set up there. You go, this could.
It looked exciting. It did look exciting.
You could do something here. But the midfield that you picked isn't a midfield that could get the ball to them.
Yeah.
Paul Pogba is a guy that could have gotten to. So there might have been a different gap in the game. I don't think we'd have beat them with him in. Unless we did pull out one of those performances that are within us, but weren't this weekend. But this is where you go, okay, so he says Pogba couldn't play, so I have to play Fellaini, because you go, yeah, they're the exact same player, yeah, like, obviously. Like, why not try
Fellaini's
Andreas
slightly
Pereira?
better.
This is how young players get their goal. Why not try Andreas Pereira? Because that is a guy with a range of passing.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look further down, it would never have happened. But Dylan Levitt's range of passing, this weekend alone, would have helped us. He's the kind of player that plays them passes into the final third, over the top, round the corner.
Yeah.
And you just think, is no one going, if this is how you want to play, then if you've got the players to play that, play them. Like, don't go, this is how we want to play, so we'll play a player that can't play like that just because he's next in the pecking order. You put in square pegs in round holes and asking him to do what the round hole did.
I mean, you know, his comment afterwards saying, oh, if Pogba been fit, then City would have had to deal basically with Fellaini coming in the last 20 minutes. First of all...
You still could have done that.
Yeah.
You could have played your £50 million midfielder.
Which is what I was going to say. Why not give Fred a go in a proper game, you know, to see if he's up to it. He's played for Donetsk very well. He was in the Brazil squad at the World Cup. He's
one of his better games was against City, when they played against Donetsk.
Yeah. I may well have done that game, but I mean, to be honest, I can never remember him really shining, but that's not to say he didn't in that game. But what I'm trying to say is, why have you bought him? He was the flagship signing in the summer, because he was basically the only one apart from Dalot who's, you know, untested, and he's not getting a game.
What's the minutes that they played between them? You got Ligue 1, alright, it was always going to be a backup, whatever. Dalot's played one match, essentially, and a League Cup game, and Fred, who might as well be a myth. And we didn't really desperately need another midfielder. What's
worrying for United and United fans is it's a bit like Van Gaal. Every time he signs a player, he doesn't seem to trust him. You know what happened with Di Maria, for example. You know,
I don't know why that didn't quite work out with Van Gaal. He had a couple of really good games, and then
apparently he didn't have the spleen for it, the backbone, Di Maria. But I don't know. It's just results change everything, of course. But how do you get those results? That's the thing. I don't know. Fellaini, for me, everyone says it to me, and I kind of agree. He's not really a United player, or he's a good squad player to come on. I don't think he should be, you know, getting in ahead of your £50 million midfielder. But I did like that front line. I looked at that front line and thought, right, the fans are getting what they want in that area. You know, those three, Martial, Lingard and Rashford.
They just didn't get it. They didn't get the ball.
No.
I can show you the touches that them players had, and it just wasn't enough, and it wasn't enough in the right areas.
I see City every home game, basically, because that means United away. That's how I do it. You know, I sort of switch between the two. And believe it or not, and this is relatively speaking, that was City getting a game this season. Apart from Lyon, who obviously beat them there, that was because it was because I know you got outclassed, but there was a period, was it in the first half, where, you know, it was in the first half after they scored, where you sort of pinned them back. In fact, Fellaini, I remember making a note of it in match report. He actually dinked a little left foot lob pass out to the right. I was like, crumbs.
There was
that doesn't happen much to City there.
There was
you know
also
what I mean?
a point where they did have everyone behind the ball. I think they scored, and then they just weathered it. And it was, I thought, if I've got to take my hat off to Guardiola for once, and I'm going to do it once, so I might as well, I thought the game management from him as a manager was phenomenal. Yeah. Score an early goal, rock back a bit on the ropes.
And he wasn't happy, Steve, either with that first half, because I was watching him, you know, as I often do the managers, and he was like, you know, I'm like this time I'm talking, he was shaking his head, and, you know, he was berating them, and I think he said afterwards, he did say afterwards that I got the feeling we didn't want to take the initiative, we just wanted to sort of keep the ball with no end product. So that's what United did to City, and all I would say is at 2-1, I was thinking, oh, it's just going to be a little bit like the last year at the Etihad, where you pulled out a performance because you have got it in you. So while you were outclassed, I didn't think it was a complete disaster, don't get me wrong. I know you don't want to lose to them, I understand all that, but in terms of performance, I didn't think it was a complete disaster. But no, you were outclassed, but they're the best side in this country. You know, they're a class above Liverpool, I think.
They might be the best side in the world. Honestly, as much as that is to say, like, I've just been chatting to Johnny, and I was like, I think they might win the Champions League this year. Like,
no one's going to want to play them, are they?
Do you know what I mean? Who's going to want to play them? Juventus? Yeah, United just beat them.
Yeah.
We beat them on aggregate as well. But you're like, all right, can Juventus? No, there was nothing really. Juventus, at home at least, was a class above us, but we fixed that and sorted it out. I mean, Jose's played the same system that Pep's played so many times, he can never really get a grip with it.
Yeah.
We always come off second best, even if we get a result. With, like, I thought at 2-1, we could make it 2-2. Did that mean that we deserved it? Fuck no. But did I think we could do it? I thought we could do it. I thought we would shit house away, we would find a chance Tony
Yeah.
Marshall's been a dead eye this season.
Yeah.
If he had 3 block shots, I think, in that game, if we'd have got him a better
Yeah.
opportunity, I think he puts one away, and you somehow come away with a point, and a point away at your rivals is the result.
Yeah, yeah.
Ultimately, we didn't get the point. City turned the screw. And it's, as I was saying a second ago, game management, they rock back on the ropes at the end of the first half. They come out with an early goal. They rock back on the ropes again, and then they finish us off. That's excellent game management.
I mean, when he brought on Gundogan, I think it was for an attacker, I can't remember who it was for. That was game management. But then, of course, there was that 44 pass move, which, you know, I basically said that, how I closed my match report, I said this is the difference between the two sides, because if that had been United doing that, it would be like front page news, look at what they've done under Mourinho to put together something like that. For Guardiola's side, it's kind of par for the course, I'm afraid. You know, that's just, you know, that's what I see there a lot. Not as many passes as that, but that sort of just, you know, it's just like mesmerising a little bit.
It's when you're watching it, you're going, I don't understand why we can't get the ball. And there must be people, just like managers, that have spent days and days and days trying to figure it out, and I don't know how they are so good on. And I know there's a bit of a stink at the moment going on about their transitional fouls, which that's happened forever. I mean, Jose was pretty good at it at Chelsea. That was the Makelele foul.
Do you know what? I haven't got any. If it's your team doing it, I mean, you know, I'm a Forest fan, but if it's your team doing it, you wouldn't give a what's it. That's part of the game. I don't really buy that at all. You know, if you're good, you're good in all areas.
I think it's because he said we don't do it.
I was there when he said that. Yeah,
and he's on camera saying it in the documentary.
Yeah.
I think that's the stink, and I think that's quite right. You can't.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I think you can't say you don't when we've seen you saying you do. Like, come on, mate, you're on telly. This isn't like whispers. Like, we know you said it. But I got no issue with it.
Yeah.
I love a good shithouse. Ander Herrera's one of my favourite players at the club at United for a minute. I mean, he fouled Dybala last week and got him booked. That's a black belt shithouse.
It's like the Ramos thing, isn't it? Everyone would want Ramos, on your side.
In fact, you know what? I mean, we're going to talk in a second about what United's budget is, or possible budget going into this transfer window. But if there was any way we could just bend his ear, like, what would really help United would be a Ramos. Now, in terms of ability, absolutely. But in terms of that leader, that game manager, that here's what we're doing, lads. Keep it calm. And I honestly think if Paul Pogba, there's a lot of people go, Roy Keane would have hated Pogba. I think Roy Keane would have loved him because he loved Cristiano. But I think he keeps that annoying element out of his game a little bit. And I think at the right times he shouts over to him and he's like, keep hold of it. Now's not the time for a flick. Yeah. Keep hold of it. Lay it quick into the channel, and I think Roy Keane would have absolutely loved him. And I think if we had someone like that in the team, doesn't necessarily have to be sat next to him, like a defensive midfielder. Yeah. I think Ramos directly behind him, keep hold of it, let it go. That sort of.
I'm trying to think as you're speaking in our league, Premier League. So obviously you've got Ramos in Spain. Who is there like that generally?
That real dirty shit.
Yeah, is there one? I mean,
I think Bonucci's one.
Yeah, but it's sort of gone out at the moment anyway. It's kind of gone out of our league.
We think that, but then you go, oh yeah, I mean, Rooney was that. By all accounts, Rooney had standards that you had to adhere to, and there was fallouts with Memphis over the way his attitude and dress would be sometimes. And I think it's unfortunate that he didn't work out because he's killing it.
You'd think Pogba, with the player he is, the stature he's got, quite rightly for winning the World Cup and scoring a cracker in the final. You'd think he could. I think they would listen to him, is what I'm saying.
There's just that childish element to his game at times that a real leader. I mean, Vidic had it though. But he wasn't a child. Vidic would make, and Ramos is the same. They wouldn't make childish mistakes. They'd fucking nail someone and get a red card, and you go, "Come on, mate."
Yes.
But they've nailed someone and got.
Okay.
They've not lost it on the edge of the box.
Yeah.
Or something like that. They would keep that side tight.
Yeah.
But where they would be shaky is. Ramos is always good for a foul. Ramos is always good for a red card as much as he's good for a last minute winner. Yeah. And I think that's where you go, fucking hell, now we lose you for 3 games. But what you do actually is 90% of the time you're keeping it very calm and safe.
I mean, Pogba was interesting. Was it the Newcastle game where he gave away the ball and he went down and scored near the halfway? Anyway, it was a game I did at Old Trafford. I don't know if it was Newcastle,
no, it wasn't Newcastle.
But was it Wolves maybe?
Yes, it was.
Right.
Wolves.
So this came up. I can't remember again if it was a preview when he was up before a game or it was afterwards. But he was asked about this and he said, "Yeah, where was it?" Anyway, he basically said, "Yeah, I don't really like to boot the ball up, but sometimes I need to do that. So fair play to the guy. You know, he's basically saying, I want to pass and create. So
a couple of weeks on the bounce, and after the Brighton game, he was like, that's not acceptable. I think he come out and said.
Yeah.
There was a couple of things like that he said. But I think he was a bit harsh. I think it's probably Graham Souness led about him losing the ball in that sort of area. But there was also a full-back four and Fred behind him. I don't think you can just go... Because, look, the ball gets lost all over the pitch.
Yeah.
I don't mind you if you lose it in the opposition third trying something.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really have a major issue with... people pull up, Sanchez lost the ball the most. But do you know who loses the ball the most in world football?
Messi.
Yeah. Do you know who the next is?
Ronaldo.
De Bruyne.
Right, okay.
Right, so don't tell me that. These are players that are making things happen. So I don't have an instant issue to that stat.
Yeah.
I go, well, where did he lose it? Did he lose it at left back? We got a problem. Did he lose it at centre half? We got a problem. Where did he lose it? In the bottom? Who gives a fuck? Trying to make things happen.
Yeah.
So January is almost upon us.
Yep.
People are doing the Christmas shopping.
Christmas is coming.
Which means that all the managers are making a list and checking it twice. Who's on United's and how much are we going to spend? And is Jose going to be the man signing off them checks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm informed that it's whatever it takes within reason. I'm not saying you've got half a billion, which is kind of what I actually think you need to spend. But, you know, you're looking at, there's a lot of money there for the right players.
But is the right player... Because we was picking on a particular player earlier. I won't mention the guy's name, but, like, he went for not a lot of money to a big profile European team 12 months ago, or a little bit over. Why isn't that... Is that a player of that profile? I would
argue you've had a couple of players like Lindelof was a little bit under the radar. You know, it's a 30 million signing, which is cheap. So I'm not saying it's going to. So let's say 100 million is there minimum. You know, it could be less than that, but that's certainly, you know, they're not going to argue over 100 million. You know, I'm not saying they're not going to get. So what I'm saying by the right player, I don't mean it's got to be a 100 million player or an 80 million player, or they're not going to go in for a 35 or whatever it might be. But I mean, they always say. One of the questions I asked was, has the Sanchez thing put you off basically because you had your fingers burned? And the answer was no. So, you know, I mean, it was a swap deal, so obviously you lost Mkhitaryan, but I always think of it sort of free in a way because Mkhitaryan they wanted out. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is the money is there. They always say that January is difficult, but you know they tried to get
no cup time or more in Champions League either.
They tried to get Fred that window as well.
No, City did, I think.
Okay, but you know, so let's wait and see. I mean, if you play the game of if you could only get one player in like one position, I think it would probably have to be centre back, wouldn't it? Yeah. All
day, and maybe a guy that could fill in at right back every now and then as well.
You know, I mean, Ashley Young again, and Valencia. I mean, you know, if they do, just to go very quickly, if they do sign this new deal, they're going to be 34 by the time next season starts.
Ashley Young's going to get a fucking testimonial.
So you need a centre back.
It's not just a player to play at centre half. I think it's that leader. Yeah, it's that martial art. It's that shithouse. And yeah, they are rare and thin on the ground. And you know the players that.
This is what I always get back to. You Manchester United. You have got pots of money. I know the Glazers' debt is still $500 million, but it's all manageable. You know, you get 700 odd in total from the Adidas deal, million alone. Just go and spend $250,000 in January. Just do it. Not as a scattergun, not as a panic thing, but just do it properly. You know, do your own work. Right. This is all we're going to get. And if we need to pay 20 or 30 million pound more, as long as we are as sure as you can be, just do it because you can do it.
The Perisic thing makes no sense.
Yeah, I know it doesn't. I mean, that's 2 summers now that's happened with him. And if you are the manager, it doesn't matter because it's Mourinho, there's all this baggage. But if it's Mourinho or Joe Bloggs, if you're saying, which I'm guessing he would have done, look, just you know, I think it's worth the extra 10 or 15 million. That's nothing to the club. To keep your manager happy as well,
compared
you know.
To losing out on Champions League football potentially, because
that's where the false economy comes, isn't it?
As much as I think Jose's responsible for a percentage, there's a hierarchy of blame. I'm loving that phrase at the moment. There's a hierarchy of blame. The players have had individual mistakes. They're partly to blame. You can argue on the percentages, but they are to blame at some degree. It's not 0 and it's not 100. It's somewhere in the middle. Jose is to blame. It's not 0, it's not 100.
Yeah.
Argue about the percentage. Mr. Woodward is to blame. Not 0, not 100, somewhere in the middle. And the Glazers, because obviously they set all the policy in terms of what's allowed to be spent, whether they're asked about a footballing philosophy, they're setting the targets, whether it's achieve Champions League football or... And I think what we're fundamentally struggling with is we're looking at Liverpool, Chelsea and City, at least. I don't know the ins and outs at Spurs and Arsenal, but you're looking at those three places at least that are demanding excellence. And you can't do just enough when everyone else is demanding excellence.
See, Van Dijk, why don't they at least make a real play for him? Because he's combining the two things you're saying, proper defender and a bit of a, a bit of a presence.
He's obviously trying to leave Southampton.
Well, of course he was. Because City wanted him before they got Laporte, I think it was, and they
Jesus is so much better than Laporte.
Well, they walked away from it because they didn't want to be held to ransom. But you just think, what is the money there for? You know what I mean? If it's not for that, if it's not for a top class player. You know, the fans are going to love you, the manager is, and if it doesn't work, then the manager really can't complain. This is the problem that's going on here a little bit, is because he didn't get what he wanted, and you're allowed to make mistakes in the transfer market. So if their argument is
replace players he bought.
Exactly. Well, look at the goalkeeper, Bravo. You know, it was a complete disaster. But they didn't turn around to him and say, "Oh well, you know,
you've already got a keeper."
Yeah, and we don't trust your judgment.
You had the
essentially,
keeper. He's by Bravo.
Yeah,
you bin him. You get another one.
So their argument obviously was, Lindelof, and Bailly, and they're not playing. But
with these rumours emerging that Bailly, which I'm sickened about, but if he's fell out with the manager, especially, is it on here? I don't think it's in that one. But is that one in leading? As Fergie was saying, once manager loses control, it's over. The manager's way has to be final. So if he's fell out with the manager, he has to go. As much as I think he's our best defender, that surely is paving the way for one of those to come in then, and that's kind of cancelling out that argument of you've got two defenders you bought. And well, I've only got one now, so fucking buy me one.
Yeah.
Seems to be paving the way for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's him, there's Bailly, there's Rojo probably, and Sanchez probably not happy, but where he goes is the problem. You know what I mean?
His wages are not in consideration.
It almost might be one of these where they're sort of stuck with each other, the club and the player, because each thinks the player should go and it'd be best, but where he goes, I mean, PSG. Well, that's what I was going to say. PSG, possibly. Di Maria plays, doesn't he? So he might take his place. If you're looking at because he wants to play more, but basically, and he doesn't like Manchester. Apparently, he's not particularly happy in Manchester. I'm not too sure his relationship with Mourinho's brilliant either.
Both were saying earlier as well, weren't we, that
it's a shame.
when this guy came in,
it's a shame.
Like, party time's on here.
I know. I thought it was a coup. It's a spot for Mkhitaryan. I thought it was all day long.
I thought this was going to be fantastic.
So I'm really puzzled with what's happened, and I actually thought he was unlucky not to start at City on Sunday, because I thought he played well in his two games at centre forward instead of Lukaku. I thought United looked better. I think he won both those games. He just makes it a little bit quicker. His touch was there, all the rest of it. So I was very surprised, because I know all United fans, or most of them maybe, are Rashford fans.
You'd be surprised. There's a lot of
but I want him to do well, because I love seeing a young player come through at any club, and what career he's had already, sort of thing. But I just feel he's still. He still loses the ball too much and goes up blind alleys too much. So what I'm trying to say is Sanchez was unlucky there, and so I don't really blame him if he's thinking, well, if I can't get in when I've been playing all right instead of Lukaku for this sort of game, I might as well walk away. But I thought it was a great sign. I thought it was like a Tevez, like a player that even if he doesn't score, he's a presence, and sort of, you know what I mean? He makes himself a nuisance and all the rest of it.
We signed a world-class player. I don't know where he's gone, but we signed a world-class player that you like, wow, when you look at what he produces as a player, you're like, oh, this is going to make a tangible difference to our team, an obvious tangible. I think the issue at the time, and Mkhitaryan was sort of playing centrally / on the right, and he was a very creative force coming through from midfield. I thought at times he got in Pogba's way. I thought he was trying to do a lot of the things Pogba wanted to do, and he actually delivered on a lot of the things that Pogba was trying to do. Then he goes, and weirdly we had this real momentum going on the left-hand side with, Marcus starts, Marshall scores, Marshall starts, Rashford scores, and it was weird, but it works, bollocks. So let that keep running, and then you bring Sanchez in. Now you lose that creative spark on the right, and you now lose the momentum on the left. And then the Sevilla game happens, and then I sympathise with Jose not getting all his players, but look, that's because they did well at a World Cup. His attitude for me was wrong there. He could have come out and gone, lads, well done on reaching the finals and the semis of the World Cup. Congratulations, enjoy your break. I've got some of the best young talent in the world here. Mason Greenwood's going to set this place on fire. Angel Gomez, Chong, you're going to see them in the first team next year. You're going to see them on tour right now. And then everyone's got a different vibe.
Yeah, no, I hear you completely.
And he didn't do that. He came out and went, I've got these fucking kids basically in the fucking shit home. He didn't say that, but he might as well said that.
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously on the tour when he was saying that stuff, and what you've just said then is kind of how we were thinking about it, because part of obviously being a manager, a leader, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, exactly.
PR.
Exactly.
PR.
And make it a supposed minus a positive. Look, it's a chance for youngsters like your bait. I mean, I hate to say Guardiola said it. It's a great sign we've got all these players, in the world involved in the World
Pep
Cup.
says it and then don't fucking play them. Jose doesn't say it, but actually does fucking play them. I mean, Scott McTominay's arguably got more appearances at United than he ever should have got.
Yeah, it's interesting what's happened this season because he's not got anywhere near it, really, has he?
It's just mad at the moment. I think Jose's not being smart with the press. I think Jose is very smart. I think Pep's very smart with the press. Like, you'll see Jose will come out and say in his press conferences something that he's seen his arse with, and I think Pep tells his little squirrels, and it ends up in the press the same way, but it's not coming out of his face, so he doesn't get tarnished with the same thingy with it. I think one's very smart with the press and one's probably a bit jaded.
I tell you what, I was surprised, but it was good to see. Did you see the clip of him after Juventus when he was speaking to a Scandinavian journalist?
Yes.
And he said, "Do you speak Italian?" And the person said no, and he said, "Well, why don't you ask the FA to?" But did you see how he laughed? It was like a proper, balls out laugh. You know what I mean?
Juventus, I'm sure he's having a
Exactly.
good
So that's the happiest I've seen him. And in the game, in the press conference before, and I think the one before that on the Friday, he had been the happiest I had seen him, and that's kind of what you're talking about the vibe, because players, everyone picks up on it.
Yeah, I think a huge part of being a football manager, yes, there's tactics involved, but these are 11 individuals.
At this
you've
level,
got to just get them.
Definitely.
You've got to get them in the vibe.
Definitely.
And I think that a confidence alone. I mean, the confidence of our defence. Defence is shit, right? So don't watch my videos because I'll tell you you're shit. But as a manager, he basically told them they were shit. And now he's trying to make them play against Juventus and Manchester City, knowing that they're shit. And you caught defenders all summer. You moan about not having the right stuff, and you ostracise your arguably best defender. So the ones that are left, the confidence on those lads must be just.
But I've got a question for you, right? So we're saying all this stuff, discussing all this. Does he deserve credit for Martial and Shaw as the manager? Surely he does.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And I was talking to, I'll just say someone who's kind of getting a little bit of criticism at the moment. And I said, treat it nice, because he's only ever criticised players that, one, I think he likes secretly, and they've gone on and been better for it since. A part of me thinks that Tony's only playing so he signs his contract, so he don't walk out the door for free.
Right.
I think there's a big element of that.
Right.
But he's also arguably saved Mourinho's job over the last couple of months or so. But yeah, I mean, he publicly annihilated Shaw, and I was like, this is over for him.
Yeah.
And then he
thought it was over, sure. You know what I mean? From what I was told, he was like,
well, look how much we wanted Sandro over the summer.
Yeah, he was basically going to run down his contract, so he could go on a free. The summer we're approaching now, so that's turned around. I mean, it just shows you how mad football is, because Mourinho 100% wanted Martial out, in the summer, and the club didn't. And here we are now. So I mean,
he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet.
He's best player, hasn't he? I don't know.
I think you could make a case for it. Yeah, I think he was getting a lot of undue credit, if that makes sense. He was scoring a goal without contributing as much, like the Young Boys game, I think. But that's changed. And he's now contributing a little bit more. He's now linking a little bit more with and that could just been game time with them as well.
But where are you with this argument that I see a lot, that don't let one of the biggest sort of results Mourinho's achieved is pulling the wool over some fans' eyes by convincing them that the side he's got isn't that good compared to City. I don't buy it completely, to be honest, because I don't think it's the same level of squad quality. If you've got Bernardo Silva who's only starting because of De Bruyne,
their squad
it's just a joke, isn't
it? We can't compare. And Vincent Kompany on the bench.
Yeah,
Vincent Kompany would be perfect for what we need right now. We would, if there was
good
another
idea.
mould. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But if there was another mould of a player that was available that we could get, even at the ages that, I mean, I see a lot of people go, "Why are you buying 30-year-olds?" They're the same people that go, "Why aren't we winning the league?"
Yeah.
And you go, "Look,
Yeah.
If we bought a 22-year-old, Axel Tuanzebe might as well start looking at different clubs, right? Maybe buying a 30-year-old actually is a long-term plan, because Axel's going to be the guy. He's having a brilliant time at Villa at the minute.
You tell me, but I get this long-term plan thing, but I think the long-term plan is just for the season ahead, because seriously, you know, if you're buying a 30-year-old and it's a big leap, but you win the league, then that's a great planning, isn't it? That's great planning. Yeah, who gives a what's it? So I'm never that. It's like when they say about England, oh, you know, let's play the youngsters at this World Cup because they'll never be ready for the next one. Forget about that. You know, it's here and now, really, football.
Especially the current sort of mentality of fans. So many fans. If someone come out and said we're gonna sacrifice a couple of thingies, people would lose their mind. A lot of people would lose their mind. Some would go, all right, cool, let's see how this takes us. But some will lose their mind, and those that are losing their mind are the same ones that are moaning you for buying a 30-year-old. But when you look at Fergie had earned the right to do what the fuck he wanted, including change the colour of the club if he fancied it.
Sure.
But in that title-winning season, 2012 summer,
yeah.
If you apply the logic that I'm hearing is being applied at the moment, you've signed 2 centre halves.
Yep.
You're not having another. You maybe want a bit of a target man, so just give us a different option up front. You've already got a couple of strikers now. In the summer of 2012, United had Danny Welbeck, Chicharito, Wayne Rooney, and Berbatov.
Yeah.
And he wanted Van Persie.
Yeah.
And what happened? We got Van Persie in the league.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you've got to let
because you wouldn't want the league without Van Persie. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you've got to let the football guy impart his football vision, and whether that was Perisic or someone before. I got told before we went on a tour, I did a video, had great numbers on the back of it, that we was going to play 3-5-2. And the reason we was going to play 3-5-2 is because we're signing Perisic and we're going to have a new system. We're going to play 3 at the back. We're going to do this, that and the other. And then for the whole of pre-season we played 3-5-2. The window shut, we went back to 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. And you go, where would we be now? You don't know where we would be now because of... And then this summer you don't bring in Alderweireld. There was a lot of talk of Willian, Alderweireld, and you go, I wonder... And you think, supposedly the money was there for Varane because he's a superstar, 100 million. And you go, well, probably not far off 100 million. You'd have picked up Alderweireld and Willian. And is the squad in a better place? Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliantly better place. You've got a real leader, and I can really see Willian being a proper Jose style of player.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably going to start every single game. He's your Ji-Sung Park sort of mould that he fill in maybe in a couple of different positions. Again, he might have been someone that could play on the right in a 3-5-2. There's so many things. But on the other hand, the not so sympathetic hand, Daley fucking Blind would have been doing a phenomenal job. You want a player that can play out the back? You want a player that can fill in at number 6 and give Matic a rest? You've just let him walk out the door. And there's been countless examples of that. Mkhitaryan obviously he fell out with, but Fosu Mensah or Andres Pereira in his first season, or Axel Tuanzebe as a backup now.
Fosu Mensah puzzles me because you're not telling me he is not worth having it your place for a season, and Valencia goes down. Okay, you know. For me, I'd give him a go ahead of it. Either of those two, Valencia or Young, and you may have seen more of him at reserve level.
Well,
I don't know.
I thought he was a shoo-in to be a world class footballer.
Right.
But really, he's a number 6. He's a ratter. He's a guy that's got quite poor positional sense, but he's got. I think he's the quickest player at the club. He's got energy and he's a powerhouse. And I thought Jose would love this guy.
Yes.
And he's not having a great time at Fulham.
Yeah.
But Fulham aren't having a great time.
Sure.
He did well at Palace, early doors. Palace loved him. Right-sided centre-half really suits him quite well, actually, because there's 3 of you can kind of get away with. It's not the greatest positional. Played at right-back a little bit. But the thing is, he didn't lose his position to just some dickhead at right-back. He lost it to Wan-Bissaka, who might be one of the best young right-backs in the world. I'm a big fan of Wan-Bissaka. Right. So you can't... And he's obviously one of their own. So you go, all right, well... On paper, oh shit, Fulham really attacking side, young, tired, they're going to go for it. Oh, it's just not worked out for them. So possibly the wrong place for him to go on loan. But like some Matty Willock, who's now on loan at St Mirren, that fucker's better than Scott McTominay. And I don't understand how anyone looks at both of them as footballers and go, I'm going with the blonde one. I have no idea how they've thought that. And you know, Matty was the one that was sort of first being on the bench for Jose, and you're like, oh shit, you're getting a debut here, son. Yeah. And then that Crystal Palace game happened, and I think he picked up a notch just before it. Didn't manage to get off and get his debut, and now he's been out on loan at St Johnstone and St Mirren. And you think, where's he going now? His brother's obviously broke into the first team at Arsenal.
Yeah.
His other brother's tearing it up at Benfica. He's at fucking St Mirren. And that's how careers can just shift at times, isn't it? And you think, we've had players in our squad that are better than what's currently filling in the first team at the moment.
There is a little. You need to be able to take a chance, but you need to have a little bit of luck to get that chance. So what you're saying there, him ending up at St Mirren, it could be. I know it's could, but it could be a squad player if he'd got that chance. And other things that had happened. You do need a bit of a, because once you get to a certain level, obviously you're going to get you're very amazing players, but there's a band, isn't there, that's probably good enough to be squad if you get a chance and show it. Like McTominay, I'm not a particular fan of his, but I can see why he likes him as a squad player. A lot of fans probably screaming at saying we don't want him there, because I get that a lot about McTominay.
I think he's very ordinary, and I thought he was very ordinary in the 23s. But he didn't stand out.
Right, okay. But wasn't Fletcher considered like that, and he ended up to be a good player, liked?
No, I think in the first team he never quite caught fire for a few years, and I think a lot of that was because he was in and out, and he
That's
never
what I mean,
got
though.
a game.
That's what I mean, though. You couldn't see McTominay being like that then?
No,
because
in the academy, Darren Fletcher was tipped to make his debut at 16.
Right, okay.
And broke his leg.
Okay.
And then he delayed it until I think he was 18 or 19 when he eventually got into the team. And he was quite poor when he was coming in, but there was a bit of hype, not Mason Greenwood level hype, but there was.
About you?
Well, yeah,
I'm
driving the bandwagon, mate. I'm all about it.
Good, you're owning it. I like that.
For a long time, I wouldn't mention his name. I first saw him at 13 a few years ago, and someone goes to me, "You need to watch out for this kid." And I was like, all right, so I'll have a watch for him. And you're like, fucking hell, he's good. And at the time, he was 13 playing on the 16s.
Yeah.
And then obviously last
season... How old is he now, 18?
He's just turned 17.
Right, okay.
In fact, I might have it on here, actually, because I dropped a graphic yesterday of his stats for this season.
Right.
They're filthy. They're absolutely filthy.
Yeah, no, I saw that. 38 goals or something, or 32 goals in 28 games or something like that.
I think it's 34.
Right.
Where is it? Is that one? That one? No, that one is.
There we
32
go.
Starts, 34 goals, 13 assists, 19s, 18s, and 23s.
And when I looked at that photo, obviously,
that's this season.
They can't see the photo, I don't think. But he looks, I don't know, it's just a photo, but he looks like a bit of a man boy, if you know what I mean. He doesn't just look like a little kid who's
I was doing some
training
research
on.
for a video about 3-4 weeks ago about him.
Yeah.
And I used something called Instat, which is.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah.
So I was looking at some of the goals that he scored when he first broke into the under-18s as an under-16. And he's a child, and then obviously it goes through all the goals he scores, and you look at the last few, and there's a neck on him now and a back on him, and you're like, oh wow. And I believe his mum's got like quite a large couple of brothers, and they're thinking this might grow into that.
What's his best position then, do you think?
I think he is a number 9.
Oh really? Okay. Is he? Wow.
Coming through, he was, especially when he was playing up levels, he would play on the right wing, he would play on the left wing, and I've also seen him play as a number 10. But I think there is a real Ronaldo / Robin Van Persie number 9 in there. What
are you saying compared to Rashford then?
Rashford didn't have any. Didn't have half.
He went under the radar a little bit. But what I'm saying is, what do you think potential-wise? Could he be better? I know it's difficult.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Oh
okay.
God, yeah. Okay. Marcus was a player that you go, he can play at the top level.
Right.
That's a guy that can win Ballon d'Ors. That's the difference. I think Marcus was probably about 1 in 2 kind of goals. I wrote an article about Marcus in about 2015.
Yeah.
Before he broke through, and I think I either called it class of 2016 or 15. And there was 5 players that I spoke about in there, and the only one who's not made his debut was Callum Gribbin.
Yeah. But
it was Axel, Angel, Fosu Mensah, and Rashford.
Good crap,
Gribbin.
Innit, yeah.
And that was, I said, watch out for these.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad guess. And what I said about Marcus is, I love the intensity that he plays with.
Right.
There's no such thing as a 50-50. If he wants it, he gets it. He's got blistering pace, plays with
fast,
some real determination.
Yeah.
But his composure's not there. Made me look like a right dick when you see that the first half a dozen goals he scores in the first team, the most composed goals you're ever going to see, especially like the Etihad.
That's my big thing. Not against him, but he needs to sort that out. You know, his choices.
I think it's just consistent. He's played on the left, he's played on the right, he's played down the middle. You've almost got to give him an opportunity. And when was the last time he got a run of games without being subbed? I don't think he gets that, and I think people discount how much maybe that can play psychologically.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
If I miss this chance, I'm off.
Yeah.
If I miss this chance, I'm on a bench next week. When you look at what Memphis was getting here, similar sort of thing. Like he almost plays a bit too needy when he plays. Like I've got to fucking score this.
Yeah.
He goes to Leon, and the lad's gone, "You're playing next week, mate.
Yeah.
Take your time, see what happens."
Yeah.
fuckers banging in 30 goals left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
It's just smashing it in. And I think Marcus is in the same kind of mould. Maybe not a 30 goal a season kind of mould, but Mason's different. And
Right. Okay.
James Wilson might have been the most natural goal scorer I've ever seen at United. Like, just pure
Really?
finishing. But the difference is he could only play as a number 9.
Okay.
And when everyone plays one up front, you ain't getting your chance, are you?
Yeah.
How do strikers get their opportunity? Like Marcus, they come in on the left.
Yeah.
Or Danny Welbeck, they can play off either wing. Because he can play 4 positions, I think Mason gets his opportunity wide and eventually moves in central. But there is a dead eye level of it. That left foot is Robin Van Persie-ish. It's just...
Okay.
You see the goals he scored this weekend?
No, well, I've not seen them.
Oh
no.
my... It's just... He's got 2 goals and 1 assist in a 3-0.
Is he from Manchester, by the way? Is he?
Bradford is
is it
from.
right? Okay.
And you just think, I have never... I mean, I thought Angel was ridiculous. But Angel's size was always going to be a factor.
Right.
He's never... He's quick but not blistering. Like Marcus is blistering.
Right. Yeah.
He's got like big joints, if that makes sense. Like you can see his elbows and shoulders and knees are going to hold a bigger frame than he's currently got.
Okay.
And you think he's going to develop into a real complete forward. And I think that he's got to play number 9. He's going to get his chance wide.
So is he 6 foot now then, or is he going to be 6? You know what I mean? Is he?
He's bigger than me, so
he? Right,
yeah,
okay.
I'd say he's probably 6 foot.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
And yeah, he's filling out. So I think whatever the club's plan is for him.
So he is. I mean, I think for the Guardians next gen, you had to pick a player for each of the clubs you cover, and I picked him. But is he the best that's come through of the last few years? Would you say prospect easily? Yeah.
Look at
But what
Rachel.
about the lad? The one who was really good, scored a. Had loads of problems, had to leave, went to West Ham, scored a good goal.
See, bro, I never got a hype with Ravel Morrison.
Did you not? Right. Okay.
I watched the academy then.
Okay.
Ravel Morrison was in Jesse Lingard's team.
Right, okay.
And I actually really loved Jesse Lingard in that team. Paul Pogba was in that team.
Okay.
Morrison and Pogba played as a central midfield partnership.
Right.
And you could have thought there was an attacking partnership because it'd be like Pogba gets 2, Morrison gets 1.
Right.
Sort of like we won 3-0. But player of the year that season when they was under 18s was Ryan Tunnicliffe.
Right.
So for all, I think there's a bit of a memorialising of what could have been with Ravel Morrison. For me, he was a good player, but like I would have thought like Ben Pearson, Ryan Tunnicliffe, certainly Lingard, and definitely Pogba were all above him. Probably Will Keane, probably Michael Keane. He was in the mix with them.
Right. Okay.
But they were all above him for me.
Right,
and I think that's been reflected in the careers that most of them have had, apart from Will Keane, I guess.
Yeah.
Really. But even like Zeke Friars,
Yeah.
Lionel Cole, it was a great team.
Yeah,
he was in a great team, and he was a good player in a great team. He would score like outrageous goals because he's an outrageous player, but like the consistency wasn't there it was with. I mean, there's a reason Tunnicliffe won Player of the Year.
Yeah.
No, if he was that good, I think he would have been Player of the Year. Like, unfortunately, I mean, and who am I to argue? Like someone like Sir Alex and Rio have come out and said, "Oh, he's the best thing I've ever seen." And you go, "Okay." But
Yeah, sure. You can't really argue with
I
that.
don't agree, but like, no, I'm not really going to call your judgment in.
Yeah, sure. Question. Yeah, yeah.
It's a finger. So, are we going to fix it then in January? You reckon we're going to? You think the money's there?
Yeah, the money's there. The money is there. The money is there. So that's a good start. I can't believe that they're not beavering away now. Sort of try to get some deals done.
That's what I always worry about United. It seems like we almost wait till the 1st of January. Go, the window's open. Let's start.
I don't think that. No, I don't think. I think
we're on it now.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. You're told that some targets are done a year in advance. In terms of the work, they have to be really because there's all sorts of different moving parts. I mean, on the one hand, and it's a little bit of an excuse. This, and I'm not making it for me, but it sounds like an excuse for the club. It is very difficult now. It's not like United say 10 years ago because you haven't. There's a lot more money around, but I think that is an excuse because you still are Manchester United. So you've got the name, the history, the pedigree. You've got the manager, believe it or not. He's got a phenomenal track record, but you've also got the money, and you can pay. Often players will come, or one of the factors is you pay more money in wages, like a lot more. What I mean?
Sign Real Madrid centre half.
But what I'm saying is you've got everything in your favour, to sign these players. So, you'd like to think that in January, I think, and it's a big if, but if you end January with a proper centre back, I don't know who it's going to be, and a proper goal scoring forward. That's what I think you need. You might disagree. You might say a full back.
I keep saying Arnautovic
because I just think there's a lack of goals at the moment. There's a lack of goals.
Just a different thing.
Then you've had a heck of a window, but I think might take full windows. I know people don't want to hear that because the winter one is a little bit iffy. So it's really two proper ones, two summers. You never know.
Did Jose see that out? I think he's bought himself time at least through January, unless we have some catastrophic results.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a Palace, sorry, is it at home? But if Palace,
if they come here and dick us.
Yeah, or if you lose 1-0 and it's a stinky. I'm not saying he's going to get sacked, but he's on the rack again. He's kind of, I think I said to you earlier, I think he's living from 2 games to 2, rather than game again, 2 games to 2 games. You know, he sort of can afford a City. He has to beat Palace, sort of thing. I don't know. He is tearing his hair out about it. I mean, he does. The first thing I think what should be made clear if people don't think it is he does care. He does want it to, because he's got personal pride. He's Jose Mourinho. It's not like he's just, I've done my stuff. I'm going to get all this money. There's none of that going on, and he is tearing his hair out a little bit. But he signed this contract that you mentioned in January. So why didn't they just say in the summer? So now they've got to do it in January.
I wonder if they they offered him the contract and was like, you can buy X, Y and Z in the summer, and then the summer came, X, Y and Z wasn't delivered, and he spat his dummy out and chucked all the teddies out, and that's what we're sort of seeing as the move now.
I think you're probably right. So, how are they going to learn from that? I mean, I think Gary Neville said it as well, like, what is the point in the contract signing if you're not going to back him? And he's right, because it just makes business sense. It's like, it doesn't matter. I know football's different, it's a sport and all that, but in a business, if you have someone who's in charge, back them or get rid of them, because and you do the job if you think you can do better. So I get why people are sort of cheesed off with Woodward and the ball. I completely get that, and that's why I would still describe it as a little bit of a mess at the moment, really.
You wrote the article about the director of football, didn't you? I still think a director of football should be the top signing, but I think we've not signed him because Jose said no, which is kind of mad, because you almost think that might help Jose. So, 2 people telling the management, we need to sign this guy, it might be better than 1.
Yeah, I think they're doing it because they recognise that they need it. I think they're looking at other models. I don't mention that club again on here, but City and thinking, well, that seems to be working there, because whoever the manager is, you've got a football philosophy in place that this is the United way. So it's got to be the right appointment.
You have to say they're very well run, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, okay. So to get back to whether Mourinho's going to be happy about it, I don't think he particularly is. I don't think any manager really is. But if you get a guy in who, I'm not saying Mourinho has to appoint him, but the manager gets the veto almost, or says, right, I don't like this guy. Okay, fair enough. Then I think that would help.
Of
course it is. Of course it is. It's got to be someone who's basically, kind of
an ally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're hoping to do it before the end of the season. I'm not quite sure why they haven't done it already, because again, I think it's they haven't just woken up that the morning in the summer I was told about it, and that was the first. They've been thinking about it for a bit. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. So I don't know who you would. I mean, who just trying to think who'd be good at it.
You just got to go, what's the well-run club? So you go, Atletico, very well-run club. So it's Bartra there. You got the geezer that was at Juventus. There's loads of people at some smaller clubs as well. I put a shortlist together. I did a video exploring like what actually would a director of football's responsibility be. So we put a couple of options in there. I think Monchi was one. There's several guys that are doing a good job. I mean,
what about ex-United players?
Yeah, you've also gone like, what about Paddy Evra? Because I'm trying to find out why Paddy's sitting next to Ed every week. I would love it to be Evra. Does he have the contacts? He's played at Juventus, played at Monaco. Obviously, he's played all over the place. I think he would have the contacts. Would he be able to sell United? Oh my God.
Yeah,
he could tell you you're signing for nothing a week, and you'd probably be like, I love you, Paddy, where do I sign? I think if you're trying to have, because that was what Zidane's role was for a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, good point. I'd forgotten about that, you're right.
Was selling the club, was going to players and convincing them. And I think this might be because I've got an Evra shirt there and a Cantona one there, they're 2 of my favourite players. I can't imagine if you had like a little tandem duo of Cantona and Evra turning up on your doorstep and telling you to sign for United that you're going to say no. That would actually be pure romantic bollocks.
Cantona as director of football would be pretty newsworthy, I have to say.
Can you imagine the press conferences of Cantona as director of football? So why have you signed him? because fuck you, that's why.
I don't think Mourinho will be happy about that, because there is someone who overshadows him. You know, obviously a United legend, etc., etc. So
yeah, I mean, Gary Neville might be that sort of role. I think there's something weird going on with a class of '92 in the club. I think they want to own the club at one point in the future. I think Salford's a little sandbox for them. I
don't think it went down very well, that hotel football thing. But I have to say, how did the Glazers miss out on that prime piece of real estate just there? You know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, what a good idea that was and is to have that place. I mean, the joke going around at the moment is they should stay there, you know, because they keep on getting caught in traffic. I know, but they don't want to because of the, you know.
United could build. I think it needs a bridge because there's no bridge from the footpath along the canal into the stadium. But they could make 10 grand.
And they could make a show of it. They could have it like all protected, but see-through. So you know the players walk up. You know, like the Ryder Cup. They do that at the Ryder Cup where they sort of parade.
Like when was it Juve when they stayed at the cricket ground?
It was Juve, yeah.
And Jose jumped off the coach. I mean, can you imagine? Like, fucking Jose. Like, when I heard they stayed there, I've gone, who the fuck has come up with that idea? Because it might be 200, 300 yard away, but you can't go direct because the roads are closed.
Do you know what? I've got one for you. So when that happened, there was people at the club thinking, there's no way Jose Mourinho's got off that coach. And I was like, no, you know. And so they were, but I like that. That for me was Mourinho being a bit Brian Cloughish. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's under fire because he wasn't that, but it was kind of that period, and he still didn't give a you know what. And I thought, you know, that's what he's like. That in its own way, that's kind of leadership because the players are saying, well, okay, this guy's, you know, he's not doubting himself, is he?
As well, I think that there's stuff I've spoke about with different people, and I've gone, do you know, like there's. Occasionally the players will go in the away end. Make it compulsory. Or maybe don't make it compulsory, but just like encourage it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the players would have a better relationship with the fans when they do that sort of thing. And you would probably get a few dickheads, I'm sure, but crowds do generally police themselves. And I know what the players that go in the away ends.
But it's self-police it as well. I don't think United fans are going to be awful to their own player, you know what I mean?
They would on some occasions, I'm sure. But like if that became a regular thing, United's away crowd's a fairly regular crowd as well, so I think that 2-3 weeks this is the maddest thing that's ever happened, then it starts to become normal.
I see what you're saying.
And then I think that if people started to be dicks with the players, they get fucked off.
Yeah.
Like the crowd would like protect the players.
Who's done it then? Carrick's done it. Has anyone else done
Ashley Young's done it quite a lot.
Has he?
Carrick's done it a lot.
Ashley Young, there you go.
Rojo's done it.
Has he?
Yeah, Rojo did it. Rojo did it pretty regular, actually.
Did he?
Pretty regular.
What sort with the baseball cap, low
not
profile?
Even, no,
really?
like a bright red bubble jacket.
Right,
so
okay.
like really not even.
Fair enough. For away ones, Steve, or at home?
Away ones, yeah. I know most of the players have got a box on that middle tier where they usually go. Like you often saw a lot of the Spanish contingent would go over to the corner, like on your right from the press box, the opposite end to the away fans. Because I know that they have the box behind J stand.
Right. Okay.
And I know like Marcus and Jesse have got like boxes behind the Stretford end.
Right. Okay.
So like you see him pointing up there and stuff. That's
right. Okay.
And I think when they're not going, I know Marcus's brother when he was banned. It's the first time he's been to a match with Marcus since he was 15, and I'm like, that's mad. And he goes, well, he's had, from being 15, he had under 18s matches for United, and then he's been in every match day squad, hasn't he? So he's never had a thinky off. Right.
So I'm obviously a lapsed Forest fan, but my son is a United fan, and when Jose's first
fans have just gone.
Jose's first game was Wigan, so I took Sonny to that as a punter in the way end with the United fans, and let's say it was a robust crowd. I have to say there was actually a fight broke out between two United fans, and my little boy then was about 5, I think. I don't know, what was it, 2 years ago? So yeah, it might have been 4 turning 5. And he didn't see it, but it was a good. Apart from that, it was a good experience. You know what I mean? Just sitting, it was a bit wild. I was thinking, should I have brought him to this? But you know, they all looked after him. But
I'd love to see the players get more involved with that, because there is this sort of like them versus us. They're all special, and like a lot of them are just football fans at the end of the day that have got a job now playing football. And I think something like if there was at Hotel Football, you could walk them. It's not far. I mean, we always film at Hotel Football before a game and then walk the route that the players are going to walk anyway. Are you telling me that they couldn't walk across that bridge? Really?
Maybe it's one. If it happens again, maybe it's one just to sort of throw at Jose, see how he handles it, see what he says, because you know they obviously know it's an option and turn it down. That's why they went to the. They must have done it because it's just there.
I think it's just a thing with them building it there. They've had a feather in their arse over it, and they don't want to. give them the extra attention of obviously this pretty key landmark outside the ground at the moment.
Yeah.
Word is that there was planning permission. I don't know if this is true or not. There's planning permission from the corner to go into the ground for a bridge. When it was built, it was reinforced on the very corner.
From hotel football, you mean?
Yeah. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I mean, just to finish with it, I was actually surprised he didn't already own that land because it's so close. It's just outside the car park, isn't it? There, that side of that car park.
Ultimately, longer term, why we haven't got our own academy stadium? Why we use Lee? It's so out there. I mean, there's so many places you could use in Manchester without having to go to Lee. I am jealous of City's little setup there for academy games and stuff because I've got a real good academy following. And putting the games there regular would be fucking brilliant. Obviously not at the Etihad campus, but having our own little mini stadium on our land. United own all of that freight land. You can tell me we can't fit a little stadium on there? Really? Come on, man. Of course you could.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to expand it a little bit because of the women's team, but you just wonder. Maybe it's something to sort of try and look into. But is there any sort of plans for that? Because that facility at City. It's kind of like the one at St George's Park, the FA, in terms of the spec. You know what I mean? They've done it properly. And United's does feel a little bit. Carrington's a nice, but it feels not cramped, but it feels a little bit like they could just broaden it out a bit and just make it a little bit.
The Farmery one's all the land around there.
Well,
it's
a nest egg, isn't it? That.
Right, Jamie, you have got the fucking wildest book, What I'm going to do, lads,
here it is.
I'm going to read the biography on his Amazon profile, right? The link will be in the description below if you want to buy this book. And I recommend buying it. Now,
Buy it.
I think this is Jamie sort of confessing to his true personality. Because, do you want to give us the theme of the book?
It's about a bent cocaine deal between a father and son. The father's a bent Met policeman, DI Frederick, the Fredster Street, and his son's called Elvis. And basically, Elvis detests his dad because his dad slept with his girl. So what he does is he sets up this cocaine bust, knowing that Frederick will rip off the coke because he's bent, and they're going to split the proceedings. But really, what Elvis is doing is trying to expose him. But the sort of, not the hook, but one of the sort of plot intricacies is that the dad finds out what his son's up to, but they don't pull out of this deal. And what it's about is his dad thinking he can convince his son that this is the way forward. I live my life. I have adventures all the time. Come and join me. And this is how I'm going to make it up to you for sleeping with your girl. And it's obviously a bit warped, but then aren't we all? You know what I mean?
So yeah, this is definitely semi-autobiographical, allegedly, from Jamie. But I'm just going to read you his bio on Amazon. Jamie Paradise, which is his pen name for his fictional stuff, writes all his stuff in a darkened mansion filled with the cadavers, it's a horrible word to say that, of ancestors, that means the bodies, of his ancestors.
Well, that's obviously completely true. I mean, I've got like centuries worth of skeletons at home that I just look for inspiration every... It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek because it's playing on the thing about how writers are supposed to be writerly and a bit like pretentious and a bit like... So I thought I'd just go to the complete extreme and sort of like make it really serious and grave, that you've got all sorts of skulls and... things lying around for inspiration, you know what I mean, Steve?
Go buy the book. It's absolutely mental. Definitely go and check it out. Like I said, the link will be in the description. But thank you, Jamie, for coming
Thank
around.
you, Steve.
Entertaining as always.
Anytime.
There is over 100 million or more to spend in a January transfer window.
There is.
Let me know in the comments who the hell that should be. If you had 100 million, who would you be buying for United? Anything else?
Just very quickly, Frederick Street, the bent guy out of this, he could pull off your transfer targets in January. He has those sort of contact. Trust me, he don't particularly like football, but he does like a deal, and he could get you Messi on the cheap.
Director of football, that's well done. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here. Go give Jamie a follow on Twitter, but definitely go and check his book out on Amazon. Laters.